you do things in your life day to day that sometimes you look back and go, oh, probably shouldn't have done that or thought that or said that. And you have some regret. Then comes the guilty feelings. You know, shame and your conscience are there for a reason. But sometimes you can be a little hard on yourself. So is there good shame and bad shame? Let's find this out. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services, every single Tuesday with us about this time. I don't know if I'm getting this right. If I'm thinking of this right, Doc Braccio, good morning, my friend. It's good to have you. Is there good shame and bad shame? Is that kind of where we're headed here?
Well, yes, I think that'd be a good way to put it. I guess, Mike, for those of you that know me or have followed my podcasts and writings over the years, you know I strongly oppose to persons having inappropriate guilt. We call that shame, in the sense that it is totally destructive. Destroys a person's ability to live effectively in the present, and thus there's no future. On the other hand, I do strongly believe that if a person has behaved poorly to someone or a group, then I call it legitimate guilt. You accept responsibility, feel badly, make amends as best we can. And if someone has done wrong when feeling bad is appropriate, you ought to feel appropriate if you've done wrong. In this age of what I call feel-gooditis, persons too often, they don't want to accept right. They don't want to accept responsibility and would prefer to just overlook inappropriate behaviors, minimize them, and let them go. It's really important to deal with our feelings after we recognize that we've behaved inappropriately and work this out in our mind that we are not going to do it again. It's often overlooked that when we do something inappropriate, that we ought to feel bad about it. And even more important than that, we really have to try to resolve the problem and let the person or group know that we feel bad about what we did. It also is very important to not endlessly ruminate about these behaviors, thinking about it all the time, and cause ongoing negative guilt and even depression and poor self-esteem. The person is not to allow our inner critic to beat us up every day and ruin it. No. The goal is to honestly reflect on our inappropriate behaviors and try to understand why we did them and determine not to do them again. Obvious examples of this, Mike, would be hurting someone's feelings, lying, stealing, cheating others, slandering persons and their reputations, dishonest, dishonorable in a relationship, putting people down with the goal of helping yourself or making yourself feel more powerful, slowing down the progress of others for the fear they're going to compete with you, or you just plain enjoy them in a subservient position. Something important not to overlook when we try to make things right is not to end up gaslighting the person and not being totally honest. This happens too, about how inappropriate our behaviors were when admitting that our intentions were not good. To be honest with yourself and the other person is critical to our making changes to self as we improve our character with appropriate guilt. It also is true that we may have hurt someone inappropriately, but not intentional of doing it. Then it's worthwhile to indicate we feel bad for what happened, but had no intention of doing it. When we do this, we do run the risk the person really isn't going to be willing to accept the apology. This is a risk we take, but something that needs to be done in order to right the ship of our sense of right and wrong. So I think briefly, succinctly stated that, when we're making right when we behave inappropriately, this includes accepting the behavior was inappropriate, having appropriate guilt. This is what I mean, appropriate guilt, determining not to do it again and making amends for what was done as best as possible. This is really how you deal with appropriate guilt. So back on your point, there's inappropriate and appropriate guilt. Inappropriate is when we just carry things and we're not able to function. We ruminate. We think about it all the time, and it just wears us down. Appropriate guilt is when we accept we've done wrong. We resolve that we're going to not do it again. We accept it in our own mind, and we go out of our way to make right whatever we have done wrong. So that's really what we're talking about, Mike.
I like earlier when you called that, you said that feel-gooditis. I'm going to use that. I like that, feel-gooditis. But we also, I think, sometimes it's easy to get into I'm sorry-itis. In other words, I've said this in jest before. You can get away with just about anything as long as you say at the end, you go like, oh, sorry. And you don't even really mean it. You know what I mean? I said that. Oh, sorry about that. Hey, you don't mean it. You got to mean it.
You're not really an idiot and a dummy, okay? Ha, ha, ha. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
I do think that in life, even if we don't mean to, and sometimes we do mean it, we're in a bad mood or we say things, we do things inappropriate. And we do live in this age, don't focus too much on it because you're going to feel bad and just move on. The person will get over it. Well, I think that when we do too much of that, we become callous, we behave inappropriately, or we begin to think anything we do is right and appropriate, and everybody isn't. That's when we want to develop that sense of right and wrong and this idea of appropriate guilt. So that's where I come up with that. That there are times when you've done wrong, or whether you've tried to or not, that we just accept it. We determine we're not going to do it again. We try to make amends, and we move forward. So we don't just ruminate. And at the other end is the person who just can't get over something they've done. Golly, I said something inappropriate, and you're saying, golly, when did you do that? 9 years ago. And I say, well, golly, it's pretty time to move on. In this one shot in life, you don't want to be focusing on guilt about something you can't deal with. No, you just try to move forward, try to do the best you can. And then we have some people that have the overdeveloped conscience. They feel guilty about everything, whether they've really done anything or not, or something very minor.
Yeah.
Then you have those in the car. I call it the feel gooditis. Hey, I can't focus on this. I've got to enjoy this day, and I'm not going to worry about what I did yesterday and moving forward. So you do kind of have extremes. So but if we want balance, that's Aristotle's summum bonum, the golden mean. We want to just get balance in our life. We want to be a balanced person, and that's a combination of appropriate guilt when we've done things wrong. We admit it, and then we don't want to have the inappropriate where it destroys us, tears us apart, and just kind of overwhelms us. No, we just want to kind of be in that middle where we're trying to do the right thing. We try to be appropriate. We try to, if we do things wrong, we admit it, we analyze it in our own mind, we really realize it. Because remember, when talking about this feel-gooditis, you don't want to focus on it. You want to just say, oh, I did that, well, okay, and just kind of move on, but don't ever resolve it. And it doesn't really stop you from doing something again because you don't really look upon what you've done as any big deal. Time to move on. So that's not what we want.
Dr. John Braccio, a wealth of information. We get free knowledge every Tuesday about this time. Regional Psychological Services. Doc, we're up on time. It's 7:20. We're going to cut you loose. I appreciate it, though. Thanks, my friend.
Listen, always enjoy working with you, with Owen, and with Rich over there. A great team. So anyway, talk to you later, my friend. Bye-bye.
All right. Hey, bye-bye. 1320 WILS. We'll do this and come right back.